my name is Saran, and welcome back. Welcome back to this series where we are getting into the key steps to overcoming crisis, which I know we all need right now during this particular COVID-19 pandemic. We are now approaching the end of May 2020, and I think we've been in this situation since it first started in December of 2019. So we're going through the process. And I am just here to help you navigate the storm, right? Using my own personal experiences and so much learnings that I would have gained over the years through various crises in my own life. Yeah, so a special welcome from Trinidad and Tobago and to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, which is where I am from, right? So, but also welcome to anyone around the globe that may be tuning into this message. Now, in the last video, we discussed the distress call, making the distress call to heaven, which initiates the process for the intervention of God in your crisis, right? Which is absolutely needed, right? That is a given. You are going to need God to intervene on your behalf when you are in crisis. And it is critical because how you navigate crisis not just affects you, it affects your children, it affects your children's children, it affects your legacy, it affects generations down the line. Right? So how you deal with a crisis situation in your life has generational consequences and generational effects. So it is very, very important, and we need to hear from the source of everything of how to deal with it and how to come out of it more powerful and successful as best as we could. Yes, so in the last video we dealt with making the distress call. If you missed that video, you can click on the link below in the description, and you can follow and start with that video, because this in essence is a continuation of that, right? What I want to deal with in this video is what I call step 2. After you've made your call, what next? And so this, I want to talk about the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm. Now, when you think of a storm, an actual physical storm or hurricane, there's something called the eye of the storm. And in that eye is a place of stillness, very, very calm winds. It's peaceful, right? In spite of the raging hurricane, stormy winds around it, the eye, the center of it, the core, remains at peace. Yes, now I believe our physical, natural, physical, scientific laws are reflected in the spiritual, right? As it is in the physical, so it is in the spiritual, right? So God in his wisdom put together the whole laws behind a hurricane and how it is fashioned, and the eye of the storm, right, in his wisdom, remains unencumbered and undisturbed by the raging winds around it. And what I have found as well is that the stronger the winds, the stronger the storm, the more defined the eye is. It's almost as if the peace within the storm is somehow strengthened and made more defined by the strength of the winds. What you find in weaker storms, in weaker hurricanes, the eye is not as defined. It somehow feeds on or needs the strength of the winds around it to remain defined. And that is what I try to get into when I am in a spiritual storm, when I'm in a personal crisis. I need to get into my core spirit, get into the eye of the storm, find that peace within the storm, right? Is what many call the peace that passes understanding. It is not a peace that comes from a comfortable life, which I believe is a deceptive peace, right? That comfort that comes when everything is going well can be quite deceptive. What I'm talking about is a peace in the midst of trouble. Regardless of what is happening around you, raging winds of the hurricane, your eye, your center remains at peace. And that is what I want to encourage you to get into. And I want to give you some tips as to how to get into that place of peace, because it's very, very important, because that is the place where you would receive your divine instructions as to what to do next to get out of the storm, what to do to even calm the winds, to even stop the storm. It is a very, very powerful place to find yourself, right? And that is what we want. Step one of the things that I do is, number one, sleep. Sleep is very important. Sometimes in a crisis, some of us don't sleep. We stay up all night thinking about the situation, thinking about the circumstances, looking at the circumstance. Sleep is critical, right? So whatever it is that you need to do to sleep, because it's in your sleep that your body, your physical body, actually recuperates, and your body is forced to rest in sleep, right? So many times what you would find is when I cry, right, and this is me, crying. Some of us don't like to cry. Crying is, there's nothing wrong with crying. I cry myself to sleep many times, right? And there's no shame in that, because when it is I cry myself to sleep, and the sleep facilitates the stillness, right? So you'll be amazed as to what sleep can do to help you get into the eye of the storm that I'm talking about. So get sleep, right? When you get up the next day, right, your circumstances haven't changed. You may be very tempted to go into the zone again. Find techniques that work for you to relax you. I know for me, I meditate. I meditate on the Word of God, but mostly music. I love music. I like to listen to nice, calming, relaxing music that gets me into a still place, right? There's a particular song called Be Not Afraid. I love that song. Be not afraid, I go before you always. Come, follow me, and I will give you rest. I play that song on repeat, as long as I need to hear it on repeat. And other songs like it, it relaxes me. It gets me into that still place, right, where I can hear from God and receive my instructions on what to do and what not to do, right? So there are many different ways. You may not choose music. Whatever ways relax you, whatever ways relaxes you. Some people, laughter works for them, right? Laughter, they say, is the best medicine. They, if you can spend time with loved ones, spend quality time with loved ones, not amid strife and confusion. If it is any strife, you get away from that. Avoid the strife, right? Even if you have to avoid reading the papers sometimes is all the bad news, or watching or anything distressing, just get away from it all and find your place of peace. Find your center, right? I use music. You can use any techniques. There are various meditation techniques out there that you can use. Therapy, if you want to go to a therapist, right? You can sit down on the therapist's couch and get relaxed, and that might help you. There are many different techniques that you can use to get into that place of peace. But once you are in the place of peace, right, that is the place where you hear the voice of God, and that is critical in getting out of your crisis. I know there are certain hindrances that prevent us from receiving God. Number one, many of us don't expect to hear from God, right? I talk to some people and it's like, but Saran, I'm praying, I'm not seeing anything happening, I'm praying. Okay, so after you've prayed, which in essence is the distress call, that is your shout out to heaven, that is your prayer. So that is the first step. You've initiated the process. What was the response, right? And some people appear a bit confused. Heaven responds to us. God responds to us. Yes, God is not this isolated God. He is in a relationship with us. He wants to have a conversation. What happens in a conversation? One person speaks, the other person is listening. Then the other person speaks, and the other person is listening. It's a two-way thing, right? So please don't make your distress call and just simply wait for manifestation. It's very, very dangerous. Get into the place of stillness and listen out. Listen out for the voice of God. Yes? Expect to hear the voice of God. Don't just wait for manifestation. And when it doesn't happen, you say, well, it wasn't God's will. Did you do It may have been His will. Did you follow the instructions between the time where you made the distress call and the time where you want to see you want to see the results manifested? There are certain steps in between that you might take. Right? Sometimes the response is stay still. Stay still, don't do anything right now. Sometimes the response is do X, Y, Z. Many times in some situations, some very urgent situation, my response was use the gifts. Use your gifts. Use the gifts that I've given you. Right? And you roll with that. Another hindrance to hearing the voice of God, competing voices. Competing voices. Be very, very careful of the advice that you receive and you follow in crisis. Right? Does it match up with the Word of God? Does it match up with the highest form of yourself? Does it match up with the highest version of you? Are you tapping into the highest version of you? That is what you are hearing to do is going to be for the benefit of all involved, right? Many times, check your motives. I've had to check my motives, right? Particularly in the workplace. Is my motive, do I have a selfish ambition, right? Are my motives selfish? Are my motives self-serving, right? And what I find is I stay away from that. If it is that I'm gearing towards that, which happens, we're all imperfect human beings, am I gearing towards a selfish motive? You put that aside. Sometimes in those instances, my instruction is lay yourself down. Lay yourself down. Right? These are just my instructions. You have to connect with the Father with your own particular instruction. Right? So one, expect to hear from Him. Two, note that there are competing voices, and the voice you want to hear is the voice of the divine, which comes from the highest version of yourself, right? And the last one, check your motives, right? Check the motives. Is there any impure motives in there, right? That may be fueling what it is I want to do, right? So it's in that space where you are still, and you are able to have a clear mind and clear thought, and the instructions will be revealed and made known to you. It will be revealed and made known to you, and you will know exactly what you are supposed to do in your own particular circumstance. And you eventually you will see the manifestation. But very, very important to get into the place of stillness and get in connection with the Father to get your response. Right? Do not just wait. I made a distress call. Do not simply just wait for a manifestation unless you have been told to stay still. Unless you have been told to stay still. This is not an easy feat. It is not an easy thing to do. It is going to take time, and it takes a lot of strength and endurance to get into the place of stillness and to listen well. And to listen. It takes a lot of strength, but it is not impossible. Right? So I urge you to get into that place. If there's anyone around you that is affecting peace and affecting stillness, step away from it. Step away from it. Even if it's just temporarily, but stay in a place of peace. The eye of the storm. That is where your strength is, in the eye of the storm amidst the trouble. And you will get clear answers of what to do. Yes, so I will leave you with that for today. And until the next time, stay safe. Stay centered. We just spoke about being centered, the eye of the storm, finding your center, finding your core. Stay connected to the Father and with each other in any way, through any means that is available to you right now, and stay home, right? We're still in a stay home mode, right? Even though some of the restrictions have been relaxed, we still need to be cautious, because we see in some places where restrictions are relaxed, sometimes the cases increase. So we still need to be cautious and stay home if you don't need to go out. All right? So until the next time, I will see you in the next video, and have a great one. Bye-bye.